Okay, everyone, back we are again with a number of things to discuss today. Things certainly heating up. Celtic back in pre-season training for a few days now. We're now just 2 days away from actually seeing the team back in match action. And we had a pretty lengthy first exclusive interview with Brendan Rodgers of the season. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that first up. Yeah, the traditional, we're back in pre-season, so let's sit Brendan Rodgers down and cover about a million different topics. Not complaining at all, because it gives us plenty to talk about. And there was lots involved here in this Celtic TV interview, including a question on potential future transfer business, which is usually more of a Daily Record or Sun question rather than an in-house Celtic TV. But we got that, again, not complaining, so we'll cover all of that. Brendan Rodgers back at Lennoxtown, the team back at Lennoxtown, well, the majority of the team. Usual chat from him. I enjoyed my summer, got to switch off a bit. I think he mentioned golf, which is unsurprising. Cycling, slightly more surprising, but great that he's been able to wind down over the summer. But obviously, as manager of Celtic, you're always thinking about what's next. So he's clearly been doing a bit of that. And yeah, we'll come on to some of the comments. I just sense that we might be seeing something new from Celtic at the start of this season. Just given how the end of last season went, I'm not just talking about the Scottish Cup final, but the second half of last season. I don't think that will have sat particularly well with the manager. And I think he's been working on some things. Basically, I have a hunch that the team might resemble a Brendan Rodgers team just a little bit more this coming season than last season. So that's something we're going to look out for over pre-season and the early competitive matches. He spoke about the new signings, was quizzed on all of them. I've just picked out a wee nugget of information from on each of them. Now, Kieran Tierney, obviously Brendan Rodgers very happy to have him back, revealed that he and Tierney had actually met over the summer. Not sure if that was for a cycle or what, but very happy to have Tierney back. Says Tierney's incredibly happy to be coming back to Celtic. The big point I took away from what Brendan Rodgers said in the actual signing is that quite often when you get a player like Tierney back to the club, he's coming back at the tail end of his career. And that's not the case here. We're getting Kieran Tierney in what should be his peak years, and Brendan Rodgers was very clear on that. So that's really positive. Benjamin Nygren, a couple of things here. First of all, Brendan Rodgers mentioned that he'd actually been in touch with, just dropped in, former player you might remember, Michael Essien, the former Chelsea player, who that's where the link with Rodgers would have happened at Chelsea in the mid to late 2000s. Essien now working at Nordsjælland, the former club of Nygren. I think Essien there's quite a big African link to that club with the Right to Dream Academy that Nordsjælland have. So I think Essien's role is something to do with that. But you'd clearly seen Nygren a fair bit. So he spoke pretty positively about Nygren, kind of sold the player to Brendan Rodgers. So yeah, Michael Essien involved in that transfer. Probably didn't see that one coming. The other thing that I took away from him speaking about Nygren is he mentioned his positional flexibility. Spoke about him playing mainly as an 8, but also being able to play as a wide player. So I thought interesting that he mentioned both of those. So could we see Nygren playing both of those roles, or just going back to the point I made earlier, will that kind of maybe a return to a 4-2-3-1 with Nygren on the right of that 3 behind the striker? So kind of a winger, kind of a creator. Could that be, what we're planning here? Finally, with apologies to Ross Doohan, is Callum Osmond. He did speak about Doohan, but there wasn't anything major to say there. Brendan Rodgers on Osmond says the plan is to have a look at Osmond over the course of pre-season, and basically at that stage we'll work out a plan. I think there's a lot of unknown with Osmond. He might, during pre-season, be so good that the manager absolutely has to include him in the first team plans. Equally, he might be a fair bit off it, and maybe look at a loan or whatever. I don't think he could play in the B team. I think whatever happens, Osmond is going to be involved in the first team, but I guess more just finding out in pre-season just how good he is, really. Brendan Rodgers did also actually mention the fact that we'd lost Daniel Cummins, and by the way, Daniel Cummins was announced as a West Ham player yesterday, so that's like almost an identical situation to us signing Osmond, what's happened there with Cummins going to West Ham. And Brendan Rodgers did reference the fact that we'd lost Cummins and brought in Osmond. So, that's the situation there. Osmond is in training, by the way. I spotted him in a few of the clips that were posted. So, Negrin and Tierney haven't been at Lennoxtown yet in terms of training. There was some footage actually of Negrin kind of walking around Lennoxtown, chatting to his international teammate Gustav Lagerbielke. So he's met the players who are at Lennoxtown. But in terms of actually training so far, in terms of new signings, it's only Doohan and Osmond involved. Now, on to the topic of transfers and what we might see going forward. Jerry McCulloch, who was doing the interview, spoke about the fact that we've made a pretty fast start to the transfer window, and that can't be denied. I mean, we're sitting at the 2nd of July and already have 4 signings made, with a 5th very soon to follow with Hayato and Amura. And it was put to Brendan Rodgers, the fans like to see business done early. You're probably the same. Can we expect to see that continue? And Brendan Rodgers basically said, that is the plan here. As I say, Inamura is going to be in the coming days. And he then spoke about the squad not needing a major overhaul, which I think most of us would agree with. But he did say that freshness is so important. And again, I think this is a big focus for this transfer window. And I know he touched on it near the end of last season when he made that comment that got everyone a little bit worried when he spoke about, for continued success, basically, to stop things going stale, you either have to have a change of manager or you have to have, constant evolution of the squad with players leaving, other ones coming in, and constant freshness there. And I think given how the second half of last season went, and there's no doubt that, things went a little bit stale, and I guess, freshness is important. I think probably in any squad, any football squad, any sports squad, to be honest, you need to kind of constantly have players coming in just to keep everyone, I guess, on their toes and have, new blood coming in so things don't get stale. I think even more so, like with Celtic these days in Scottish football, it's probably always been like this to an extent, but it seems even more so these days that there's like just such a gulf between like the European stuff, Champions League, and the Scottish football. And it feels like at times maybe motivation is a slight issue for not everyone, not like Callum McGregor, but certain guys in the Celtic squad when they come to Scottish football. We saw that in the second half of last season, especially when you're 10 or 15 points clear. And we kind of got away with it at the end of last season. I know we lost the Scottish Cup, and that was bitterly disappointing, to quote Neil Lennon, probably. But in the grand scheme of things, we still won the league. It was still a successful season. I think the fear would be that like that form of the second half of last season kind of follows on at the start of this season, and we don't qualify for the Champions League. We make a slow start to the league and find ourselves, chasing, whoever at the top of the league. I think the real hope here is that we can get some fresh players in and just give everyone a bit of a jolt to go forward. So I think it's vital for Celtic to just constantly be keeping things fresh. As I say, we're still going to have like the vast majority of our starting lineup is going to be the same as last season, I would say. But if you can just add Tierney, Negrin, maybe a forward, maybe one other player somewhere, just keep things moving, keep everyone on their toes, just, keep that fresh, just keep everyone kind of invigorated, then I think we can make a fast start to this season like we did last year. The manager also touched on Greg Taylor's departure from the club, which was confirmed yesterday, with it being the 1st of July and him being out of contract. He was confirmed as a PAOK player, and they took the not at all stereotypical approach of announcing a Scottish player with bagpipes and Braveheart-like face paint. Once he was done with all of that act, and Greg Taylor posted a message on Instagram alongside a video compilation of his best moments at Celtic with the Video set to DJ Khaled's All I Do Is Win, which is A, an absolute anthem, and B, kind of sums up Greg Taylor's 6 years at Celtic. Now, in his, caption statement that he posted, he said 6 years, 200 appearances, and 11 trophies later, all good things come to an end. And 11 trophies. Now, I had Taylor down as 12. Bear with me here. So he won a treble in his debut season, albeit that one of them, the Scottish Cup, was carried on into the COVID season, but we still won a treble. He then won a double in Postecoglou's first season, that's 5. Then won a treble in Postecoglou's second season, that's 8. And he's won doubles in each of the last 2 seasons, so that's 12 trophies he's won. But then I had a wee look, and it turns out that he was cup tied for his potential first trophy, the one when we won the League Cup. Chris Julian scored against Rangers. He was cup tied for that trophy because he played for Kilmarnock in an earlier round. So he's not counting it. I'd certainly be counting that. I mean, he was part of Celtic when we won that trophy. So I'd say you've got 12, Greg, but happy for you to be modest and just claim the 11 trophies. How many players would love to just claim 11 trophies in 6 years? Anyway, he continues, a chapter of my life that I will never forget. My experiences on the pitch have gone beyond anything I could have imagined. Just as importantly, off the pitch, I've grown as a person, becoming a husband and, most importantly, a father. Walking out with my daughter in front of 60,000 fans was the ultimate highlight. It's something I'll remember forever. Celtic truly is one of a kind. Every time I pulled on the shirt, I gave it everything. What an honour it has been to wear the hoops. I have loved every minute and I've never taken it for granted. A heartfelt thank you to every manager who trusted me and to everyone behind the scenes. These are the people who make Celtic. I've had the privilege of sharing the dressing room with some incredible teammates, not just great players, but great people. Many go through their entire careers without the chance to lift a trophy. To have won so much together with this group is truly special, a feeling no words can describe. Lastly, thank you to all the fans who supported me along the way. It never went unnoticed. I feel so fortunate to have been a Celtic player, and now I can watch on from afar as a Celtic fan. Oh, and there was also a wee bodying of Chris Boyd as well. Boyd replying to that saying, back supporting the famous now. Honestly, when they call themselves the famous, yeah. Greg Taylor replied, not a chance, world's most successful team for me. Couple of other wee things before we go. A report from Anthony Joseph yesterday at Sky Sports saying that Legia Warsaw have made an inquiry for Yang. He says clubs in England and across Europe are also monitoring the South Korea international situation. Yang has 3 years left on his contract, 6 goals, 6 assists last season. Now, I think I've just about put Yang's performance in the Scottish Cup final to the back of my mind. It was a long summer with that floating in there somewhere, but it's just about dealt with now, and hopefully I can speak kind of objectively about Yang. I know there's a fair bit of cynicism about Yang. He's not been amazing so far. He's still incredibly frustrating, like we saw in the Scottish Cup final. Personally, I thought we saw enough from him in the second half of last season to warrant him being given an opportunity this year. I mean, he turned into a real goal threat, assists, scoring goals. He's not going to be like our first choice player. He might have his work cut out on the right with Kuhn and Forrest seemingly ahead of him. I know he can play in the left as well. But yeah, I thought, last 6 months he was pretty good, and I'd certainly want to see more of him this season. Having said that, if word comes out tomorrow that Yang's been sold and we're getting a couple of million or whatever, I'm not going to be absolutely raging at that, or to be honest, particularly sad. I would keep him. I hope we do keep him. I think there's a chance there's a player there. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I think he's someone who could chip in with 10 goals this season, which would be a pretty decent total. But I'm happy to leave it up to those who know slightly better. So there's someone at a window there just staring at me. Just watch it on YouTube. Sorry, I'm a little bit put off now. I'm nearly done the video anyway, so I can get rid of this and move into another room. Newcastle United say they've received additional tickets for the friendly at Celtic Park later this month. I believe their allocation was like just over 7,000, so they've been given even more tickets. Clearly, our end is going to be pretty deserted, I would say. I wonder, will we get 30,000 home fans for that game? Probably not, eh? Because if they've got about 10,000, then we can maybe muster a Saturday lunchtime game first at Celtic Park in month. Surely we can get 30,000 for that. Could still be a decent enough crowd. Certainly won't be full, but should be a good test. Right, okay, I'm going to head, everyone. And enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'll return tomorrow when we will be one day away from Celtic's return.